In this video, Timmy's going to show you how to back up all of your Google Drive files to an external hard drive, or even a large flash drive or SD card or something, if you wanted to. So, whether you just want to create a backup of all your Google Drive files and put them on an external drive for safekeeping, or maybe you're going to be offline for a while and you want to have some way to access all of your Google Drive files while you're offline, or maybe you even want to completely download all of your files and delete them from Google Drive and just have them on an external hard drive. Whatever you want to do, if you want to copy all of your files from Google Drive to an external drive like this is how it's done. And you can even download them directly to the external hard drive. So even if you have so many files that there's not enough storage space to download them all to your computer, you can just skip your computer and have them all download directly onto this drive. The first thing you'll need to do is make sure you have an external hard drive or flash drive or whatever you're using that's big enough to store all of your Google Drive files. So to do that, you need to go and check how many files you have on Google Drive, what size of files you're going to have. So we'll go to drive.google.com and you'll need to sign in with your Google account if you haven't already. And we can see down here we have 6 gigabytes used, but that actually includes Gmail emails and photos on Google Photos and things like that. So that's not the real number of gigabytes we're going to be downloading. So to see how much storage space the files that are just in Google Drive take up, you need to click on Storage here, this button here. And now you get this dashboard with these lines across here, and the blue line represents Google Drive. So we can see in this demo Google account that Timmy's using, if you hover over the blue line, Timmy currently has 3.12 gigabytes of Google Drive files on Google Drive, and then there's 2.78 of Google Photos and some Gmail and some other things. So we're not actually going to be downloading 6 gigabytes of files, we're going to be downloading 3.12. So all you need to do is check this number, and whatever number this says, make sure you have a flash drive or external hard drive or something that is bigger than that. So most devices like this, most external drives, will have it written on them somewhere how big they are. On the back of this hard drive here, we can see it's actually 4 terabytes, and a terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes. So this holds 4,000 gigabytes because this is a really big drive. So we would have no trouble at all fitting 3 gigabytes on this 4 terabyte drive. You probably don't need a 4 terabyte drive. Even if you have loads of files, a 1 terabyte, so 1,000 gigabyte drive will probably be fine. Or maybe you could just go with a few hundred gigabyte drive to have it smaller. But just come in here and see how much storage space all of your files will take up, and just make sure you have a drive that will match that. And once you do, and we do, we're ready to go, you're ready to start downloading your Google Drive files. And you could just come in here to My Drive and select all your files and click the download button and start downloading them all. But that can often miss some files and it can be kind of slow and clumsy, so it's not really the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to create what's called a Google Takeout backup and download that backup. So to do that, you need to open up a new tab and go to google.com and make sure you're signed in to the correct Google account, which is the one that has all of your files on it. And then click on your profile picture in the top right-hand corner up here, and under your profile picture and your name, click Manage Your Google Account. And now you go to your Google account dashboard where you can do all kinds of things with your Google account. But to create a takeout backup, you'll need to click on Data and Privacy over on the side menu here, and then scroll down a bit on this page until you get to Apps and Services here. And then you'll need to click Content from Saved Google Services. So we'll click there. And now you'll see a list of all the different services that you have data saved to. So we see we have Google Drive here. Google Drive might not be at the top for you. Google Drive might be down here or something. But you'll just need to find Google Drive. And then you'll need to click the download button that's in this box with Google Drive. So we'll click download here. And now it will take you to a page where you can configure all the settings that you want for downloading all of your Google Drive files. And you really just want to leave most of this as it is. So you can choose different formats and stuff, like if you only wanted to download videos or pictures or something, but you probably want to download all of your Google Drive files, so you'll just leave that. And you don't really need to use the advanced settings. You might want to click all drive data included there, because maybe if there is a specific folder that's really big or that you don't care about, maybe you don't want to download that folder. So if you didn't want to download a specific folder, you could untick that box. And now you can untick any folder that you do not want to download. So it also adds some folders, so maybe we don't want to download Google Forms user data, so we could untick that. And maybe we'll untick the Google Docs user preferences and Google Sheets user data and My Computer because there's nothing actually in it. So now all the folders that are selected are just folders Timmy has actually created on Google Drive. So they're the ones we want to download. You could download this stuff if you wanted to, but if you don't really want it, you just want your Google Drive files, you'll untick that and just have those ticked. Or maybe if you didn't want beefy files, you don't want to bother downloading all of them, you could untick that as well. But Timmy's going to leave that ticked and then click OK. And it will even automatically convert any Google Docs or Sheets or slides you have into Microsoft Office files, so Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. So even if you have lots of Google Docs and things like that in your Google Drive, it will download them in a format that you can download. But once you're happy with all of this selection, you can go ahead and click Next Step. And now you choose how you receive the takeout backup. So because we're downloading to an external hard drive, you want to leave it set to send download link via email, because all of the other options are just adding it to another cloud storage service, which we don't want to do. And if we scroll down here, you'll want to leave that set to export once, because we only want it to happen once. And you'll want it as a zip, because that's just the easiest. But file size is something you might want to change. By default, it will split all of your files into 2 GB chunks. So what it's going to do is it will zip up all of your files into zip files so that you can download them more easily. And by default, none of those zip files will be bigger than 2 GB. So if you have it set to 2 GB, like it is now by default, and you have maybe 9 GB of files in Google Drive, it will split your files into 5 different zip files. 4 of them will be about 2 GB each, and 1 of them will be about 1 GB. So that's fine, but it does mean you'll need to download multiple different zip files, and then you'll have to combine all the files again after you download them, and that can be kind of annoying and time-consuming to do. So instead, Timmy would recommend when you get here, you click on the drop-down menu, and you change this to 50 GB, which is as high as it goes, and then you'll have a lot less zip files you need to download. So this way, if you had 9 GB of files, you would now just end up with one 9 GB zip file with all your 5 files in it, instead of 5 smaller zip files. Or if you had 100 GB of files, you just have to download two 50 gigabyte zip files instead of 52 gigabyte zip files. It does give you this warning message here saying that zip files larger than 2 gigabytes will be compressed into a zip64 format, which is meant to be incompatible with older computers, but Timmy's downloaded large files like this multiple times on multiple different computers, and Timmy's never had a problem with it, so this probably isn't a problem unless your computer is really old. But whatever file size you decide to choose, Timmy would recommend 50, but you can choose whatever you want. Once you're done, you can go ahead and click Create Export. And now, it will begin zipping up and compressing all of your Google Drive files into zip files. And this can actually take quite a long time. If you just have a few gigabytes of files, it might take half an hour or an hour or something. But if you have a lot of large files, it can actually take many hours or even a day or two to completely zip up all of those files. So you're not going to want to just wait around for this to finish. You'll probably want to go off and do something else. And when it's ready, Google will send you an email with a link to download the files. So you can just wait for that email to come in. But while we're waiting, there are a few things you'll need to do to prepare ready to download files directly to your external hard drive. So the first thing you'll need to do is plug your hard drive or flash drive or whatever it is into your computer if you haven't already. So go ahead and grab your hard drive and plug it into your computer. And then you'll need to open up the Files app on your computer and make sure the hard drive is connected and it's all working correctly. Obviously, this looks a bit different on every computer. On a Chromebook, you'll need to open up the Files app, which is the app that looks like that, and it'll look like this. And in the menu on the left-hand side of the screen, you should see your external hard drive. And if your hard drive is not a SanDisk Extreme Pro, yours will not say Extreme Pro here, it'll say something else, usually the name or the brand name of the hard drive. But once you click on it here, if there's nothing on it, it should look all blank like that. That's fine. But just because we're able to see it here and click on it here, we know it's all connected to the computer and working. Similarly, on Windows, in the Windows Files app, you'll just need to find the external hard drive in the menu on the left-hand side of the screen and click on that to make sure it's here. And because there's nothing on the hard drive, this folder is empty, but because we can click on it and see it here, we know it's connected and working properly. And on a Mac, in the Finder app, it should show up down here under Locations. So there it is there. So it looks a bit different on each operating system, but it's basically the same sort of layout and concept. You just have to make sure your external drive device is showing up somewhere in that left-hand menu in the Files app on your computer. And now you basically have two options. If you're only downloading a few gigabytes of files from Google Drive, like Timmy is, you could probably just let it download directly to your computer. So when you get the email, you just click the button and it will automatically download to the Downloads folder on your computer, which is where all your other downloads go. And then you could just copy it across to your external hard drive. But if you're downloading quite a lot of files, you might not be able to fit all of your Google Drive files on your computer. So then you won't want it to download to the Downloads folder. You want to change it so that it automatically downloads to your external hard drive. And you can do that quite easily in the settings of your browser, but it will look different depending on which browser you're using. So Timmy's going to show you how it's done on Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, and Safari, and Microsoft Edge. So you can skip ahead to the times on the screen and watch how that's done on the browser you use. Or if you don't use any of those browsers and use a more obscure one, you can just Google something like how to change download location on whatever browser. But in Google Chrome, to change the download location in Chrome, you'll need to click on the three dots in the top right-hand corner to bring up this menu, and then come down to the bottom of the menu and click Settings. And now you'll be in the Settings of Chrome, and you'll just need to click on Downloads in the menu on the left-hand side of the screen. And now you'll see the location is currently set to Downloads, and you'll need to change that so that it downloads directly to your external hard drive. So you'll need to click Change here, and now it will bring up a Files app window on your computer, and this will look a bit different for every operating system, but you just need to click on your external hard drive in the menu on the left-hand side of the screen, and then click the button in the right corner. Might be Select, might be Open, might be Choose, whatever it is, just click that button. And now, as you'll see, it will change the location to your external drive. So now, whenever you click a download button in Google Chrome to download something from a website, it will download it directly to that external hard drive. Or in Firefox, it's a pretty similar process, but the settings menu is a bit different. You'll need to click on the menu button in the top right-hand corner, and then in this menu that appears, come down and click Settings. And now in this settings page, you just need to scroll down a fair way until you get to Files and Applications. And as we can see under Downloads, it says Save Files to Downloads, so the Downloads folder. So you need to click the Choose button here, and now it will bring up a Files app window, and this will look a bit different depending on your computer, but you'll just need to select your external hard drive so that the computer will download files directly to that external hard drive. So as we can see, we have the Extreme Pro down here, which is Timmy's external hard drive, so we'll click on that to select it. And there's nothing in it, so we won't see anything in here, but that's fine. You just need to click Open or Select or whatever button you see in this bottom right-hand corner. And now it will save files to that external hard drive. So now, whenever you're in Firefox on a website and you click a download button to download something, it will automatically download it directly to that external hard drive. Or if you use Safari on a Mac, you'll need to come up to this bar across the top of the screen and click Safari here, and then come down and click Settings in this menu, and a settings window will pop up above that, and down here we have File Download Location. So you can see it's currently set to the Downloads folder, and you just need to click on these arrows here and come down and click Other. And now it will bring up this file selector window, and you just need to click on your external hard drive under the Locations section here and click Select. And now the file download location is set to your external hard drive. So now, whenever you're on a website in Safari and you click a download button to download something, it will automatically download it directly to that external hard drive. So you can click the cross here to close that window, and you're good to go. And on Microsoft Edge, it's basically the same process once again. You just click the three dots near the top right-hand corner and come down and click Settings in this menu. And then in the Settings menu, you'll need to come into the sidebar here and click the Downloads button on the left-hand menu here. And now, up the top here, you'll see you have an option called Location. So all you need to do is click the Change button here, and now it will bring up this Files app window, and all you need to do is select your external hard drive. So we'll scroll down here and find it. Here it is here, called Extreme Pro, or find whatever hard drive you have connected and click on that. And it's empty as we can see here, but that's okay. You'll just click select folder here. And now the location is set to your external hard drive. So now, regardless of which browser you're using, whenever you click download to download a file, it will download directly to your external hard drive. So now, all you need to do is wait for your Google Drive files to be ready to download, and then you'll be able to download them directly to the hard drive. So when your files are ready to download, you get this email from Google Takeout saying your data is ready to download. And assuming you have less than 50 gigabytes of files on Google Drive, and you set the file limit to 50, there should only be one file you need to download. So there'll just be a button that says download your files, and you can click on that to begin downloading your one zip file. And you will need to re-enter your Google password just to confirm it's you, even though you're already signed in. And now it will take you to this page called Manage Your Exports. And because it's only one file, it should automatically start downloading that one zip file to your external hard drive. If you don't see it downloading, you might just need to click the download button next to your export down here. But there should be an icon or a card or a notification somewhere showing you the progress of the file as it's downloading. And this can take quite a long time because the file could be as large as 50 gigabytes. So if you have an internet connection that's a bit slow, downloading a 50 gigabyte file could take quite a while. But you just need to patiently sit and wait and watch the progress as it finishes downloading. And then, once it's finished downloading, all of your Google Drive files will be safely stored on your external hard drive. But if you have too many files or too large files to fit into one zip file, you'll have a bit of a different email instead. If we go out of here and go into this email, you'll get an email with a different download button for each different zip file you have. So in this case, Timmy has 2 different zip files to download. If you had more zip files than that, you'd have download 3 of 5 maybe, and download 4 of 5, and so on. So you'd have lots of different buttons to click on. So the best thing to do here is really just click download 1 of 2, click that button, and now it'll pop up this Manage Exports button, and it'll bring up this with all your different exports. So you have part 1 and part 2, and however many parts there are. And as you can see, it should automatically start downloading part 1 for you. So that's already downloading. And then you don't really need to go back to the email. You can really just click the download button next to part 2 and it'll reload the page, but now it'll start downloading part 2 as well. So if we click up here, we can see they're both downloading, and one's got a minute left, one's got 50 seconds left, so they're both downloading away. And if you had a part 3 and a 4 and stuff, you just click those buttons one by one and start downloading all of them. And you just need to wait until all of your zip files finish downloading. But then, however many zip files you have, once they're all downloaded, you're basically done. Now, all of your Google Drive files will be safely saved on your external hard drive. So, if you're just doing this as a backup, in case you ever need a backup of your Google Drive files, that's all you really need to do, because all of your files are on the drive, but they are inside zip files. So you can access them if you need them, but they're kind of hard to get to. So if you actually want to be able to use the files, and you're going to come into your drive regularly and access these files on your external hard drive, you need to extract them all from the zip file. And this process is fairly different depending on what computer you're using. So Timmy will show you how it's done on Windows and Chrome OS and Mac OS. So you can skip ahead to the section you need depending on what computer you use. On Windows, you'll need to obviously open up the Files app because you're working with files, and make sure you click on the external hard drive on the menu on the left-hand side of the screen here, so that you can see all of the files on your external hard drive. And in here, you should see the zip file or multiple zip files that you've downloaded. And all of your Google Drive files will be in here, but you need to extract them out of there. So to do that, you'll first need to double click on the zip file, and it will take you directly into the zip file, but you can't actually use these files. You're just looking at them inside the zip file, but you'll need to come in here and find all your files. So inside the zip file, you'll see we have this one folder called Takeout, and if we double click on that folder to go inside there, there'll be this HTML file, which you really don't need, you can just ignore that. But there'll also be this folder called Drive. And if you double click on the Drive folder to go in there, all of your files that you had on Google Drive will be inside this folder. So now you can view them all here and see that they're all there, but they are still stuck inside the zip file. So you'll need to extract them out of the zip file just onto the hard drive. So what you want to do is actually go back a step. So click back on Takeout here so that you can now see the Drive folder from the outside of it. And you'll need to click and drag this folder and drop it onto your external hard drive there so that it just goes back to the main folder of the external hard drive. So we'll just click and drag that and drop it there. And now it'll pop up with this progress here. And if you have it showing as fewer details, you might just see the progress like that. So you see the progress, and this is the progress of the computer extracting the files. So if you have a really big folder with a lot of files in it, this could take quite a while to finish, but you just need to be patient and wait for it to finish extracting all of the files. So we'll just wait for that. And now it's done. So now, if you click back on your external hard drive to go back out to the main folder, you see you still have your zip file here, but you now have this folder named Drive. And inside that folder will be all of your Google Drive files. So now you have all of your Google Drive files just sitting on your hard drive here in the original folders that they were in when they're in Google Drive. So now you can go back out to your external hard drive, and you'll probably want to select the zip file and delete the zip file, because the zip file will still be there and all of the files will still be in the zip file. You've just copied them outside the zip file, but you can now just delete the zip file and you'll have all of these files sitting in this folder here. So that's all there is to it if you just have one zip file that you had to extract. But if your files were too big to fit in one zip file and they had to be split into multiple zip files when you downloaded them, it will be a bit more complicated because you'll have to extract each zip file separately, and then you'll have to merge all of the files and folders together. Fortunately, Windows actually makes merging the files and folders really easy, but there are a few other extra steps involved. So let's say you have these two zip files here because your files were split between two zip files. The first thing you'll need to do is just extract the first zip file. So we'll just double click on it to go inside it and double click on the Takeout folder. And then you'll click and drag this Drive folder. So we'll drag it across and just drop it directly on the external hard drive. So now it'll pop up with this progress bar again, and it will take its time, but eventually it will extract all of the files from the first zip file out into just the main folder of the external hard drive. So we'll just wait for that to finish. And now it's finished. So if we click back on the Extreme Pro, which is the name of Timmy's external hard drive, we now have this drive folder here, which contains all the Google Drive files that were in the first zip file. And now all you really need to do is do the same thing again for all of the other zip files, and it will actually automatically merge the files together for you. So if we double click on this second zip file now and go into the takeout folder of the second zip file, we can click and drag the drive folder and drop it on the Extreme Pro again, drop it into the main folder of the external hard drive. And now it will take a little while because it will have to extract all the files from this second zip file, but we'll just wait for that to finish. And now that that's done, when we click back on the external hard drive to go back to the main folder, even though we extracted 2 folders named Drive, there's only one folder named Drive in here. And now, if we double click on it, it will have the contents of both the zip files. So we've extracted both the zip files and it's merged both of them into this one folder. So now we can go back here, back to the main folder of the external hard drive, and if you had a third zip file or a fourth, you would just keep doing the same process. You just go in and copy the drive folder out to the main folder of the external hard drive, and it will merge all of the folders together. And now, once you've done that, you can select all of the zip files and delete them all. So we'll wait for that to finish. Now all of those zip files are deleted, and you'll just have this one folder on your external hard drive that contains all of the files that you had on Google Drive in exactly the same layout and folder structure that they were when they're on Google Drive. And on Windows, that's all there is to it. But on a Chromebook, the process is fairly similar. It just all looks a bit different. So when you're in your Chromebook Files app, the Files app will look like this. And you'll need to make sure you've clicked on the external hard drive so that you can view the files inside the external hard drive. And you should have this zip file, or perhaps the multiple zip files you've downloaded on your external hard drive. And all of your files should be inside here. So to extract the files and get them out of here, you'll need to double click on the zip file to go inside it. And now it will open up the zip file so that you can see it, but the files are still in the zip file, so you can't do anything with them yet. You're just looking at them, but that's okay. You'll need to find your files in here. So inside the zip file, there'll be this folder named Takeout. And inside the Takeout folder, there'll be this HTML file, which you can really just ignore. But there'll also be this folder named Drive. And inside the Drive folder will be all of the files that were on Google Drive. And as you can see, they're all arranged into their folders, just like they were when they were on Google Drive. So now what you need to do is click and drag this Drive folder out to the main folder of your external hard drive to extract all of these files out of the zip file. So to do that, we'll click back on Takeout to go out a step. So now we're just looking at the Drive folder here, and you need to click on this and drag it over and drop it on the Extreme Pro here. So yours might not be the Extreme Pro, but you'll drop it on whatever your hard drive is named. So we'll click here, and we'll click and drag and drop it in there. And now when you do this, you'll see the progress in the bottom right hand corner, And it can take quite a while for it to extract all of these files out of the zip file. So you'll just need to wait for that to complete. As we can see, it says complete and now it's disappeared. So now we know it's done. So now, if we click on Extreme Pro back up here to go into the main folder of the external hard drive, you'll see we still have this zip file here, but now we also have this folder named Drive containing all of the files that were on Google Drive. So now you're pretty much done. You don't really need this zip file here anymore, and the zip file will appear as though it's its own external hard drive for some reason. It always does that on a Chromebook. It's a bit weird, but once you're done with that, you can just click the eject button next to the zip file and eject the zip file, and then you can delete the actual zip file. So we'll select it and click trash and click the delete button, and now the zip file is deleted and you'll just be left with this one folder full of all the files that you had on Google Drive. And that's all there is to it. Now you just have your hard drive with this one drive folder with all of your files inside it. So that's all there is to it. If all of your files are just in one zip file, you can just extract the one zip file and now you have all of your files. But if you had too many files or too large files to fit in one zip file, and they had to be split up into multiple different zip files when you downloaded them, it does get quite a bit more difficult because you'll have to extract the files from the zip files and then merge all the files and folders together. And on a Chromebook, that's actually not very easy. The first part is nice and easy. All you need to do is go through and extract each of the zip files one by one. So if we have these two zip files here, we'll go into the first one by double clicking on it, and we'll go into the takeout folder, and then we'll grab the drive folder and we'll drop it onto the external hard drive so that we can extract it to the main folder of the external hard drive. And we'll just wait for that to finish. And now that that's finished, we'll go back to the external hard drive, and then we'll double click on the second zip file and double click on the takeout folder to go inside there. And then we'll click and drag this drive folder into the external hard drive as well. So now we're extracting the second zip file, and we just need to wait for that to finish. And now that's finished as well. So we can click on the external hard drive again. And if you had a third zip file and a fourth zip file and so on, you would just go into them and extract each of them. And now, just to make things neater, Timmy's going to select all of the zip files and delete the zip files, because we don't actually need the zip files anymore because all the files are in these folders. But as you can see here, it hasn't merged the files together. So we have Drive, which is all the files that were in the first zip file, and we also have Drive 1, which was all the files that were in the second zip file. And then Drive, if you had more zip files, you'd have a Drive 2, which would be all the files from third zip file, and so on. So if you're not really going to use these files very often, and you just want to occasionally come in here and find a file, you could just leave them split up into separate folders like this, and you just go, okay, I'll look in the first zip file, so I'll go in there, and you'd see all these files, and maybe you don't find the file in there, so then you'd go to the next zip file, and you'd try in there, and look at other files in there. So you could do that if you wanted to, but if you want to have all of your files together in the one folder with all the correct folders inside that, just the way that they were when they're on Google Drive, you'll need to merge them all together. And on a Windows or Mac computer, there's quite easy ways that you can automatically merge two folders like this together, but on a Chromebook there's not. So your only option is to actually do it manually. And unfortunately that's not very easy, but the easiest way to do it is to create two windows of the Files app. So we've got this one window here, and you'll need to come down to the Files app icon here and right click on it, or two-finger click with two fingers at once on a trackpad, and then come up and click on New Window in this menu that appears. And now it's opened one over the top of each other, but we have two windows like this. And you might even want to use split screen to easily split the windows into one side of the screen each. So now we have two different Files windows, each taking up half of the screen. And what you need to do now is in the first window on the left, double click on the Drive folder. So not with any numbers on the end of it, just the Drive folder. So that's the folder that was inside the first zip file. And that's the one we're going to be keeping as the main folder. And then in this second window on the side here, you'll need to click on your external hard drive again to see the files in the external hard drive. And now we'll go into the folder that's a drive with a 1. So we're in drive 1 on this side and drive on this side. So now what you'll basically want to do is drag across and transfer all of the files from this folder into this folder. So this folder only has one folder of files in it, so this is actually going to be pretty easy, but it could be more complicated if you had more files and folders. So the first thing you would do is take care of any loose files. So if you had any files here that were not inside folders, you need to just put them over here, not in folders. So you would just select all of those and you'd click and drag across and drop it in there. And that would move all of those files across there. But then you need to deal with any folders, and the folders are a bit more difficult. So as you can see here, the folder we have is beefy files. So if you look over here and you can't see a folder that says beefy files, that means you could just click and drag this entire folder and drop it over there, and you would be done. But as you can see here, we actually already have a folder named beefy files in here. And that's because some of the files from beefy files were in this zip file, and some of the files were in here. So now we have to merge these two folders. So if we double click on beefy files here, you can see we have all of these files in this beefy files folder. And if we double click on beefy files in here, you can see we just have these three files in this folder. So now we'll just select all of these files and drag them across and drop them into beefy files in that folder. And if you had a lot of large files in here, it might take a while, but it's done it already. So now beefy files over here is empty. So we can go back here and we can select this empty beefy files folder and simply delete that. And now all of the files have been moved across into this one folder. And if you had 3 zip files or 4, you would now just go over back to this window and come back here and go into drive 2 and then drive 3 and so on, and just repeat that process for all the different zip files you had. And this will take quite a long time. Timmy just had a few files in one folder, so it was pretty easy. But if you had a lot of different folders in some of your zip files and had a lot of different files in it, it could take you quite a while to sort through and put them all back together. But once you're done, it will be all sorted. So now you can just close one of these Files app windows. It doesn't really matter which one. and then you probably want to expand it like that so that you can see the whole window more clearly again. And now, because all of the files are in Drive folder 1, we can now safely delete number 2, or it actually has a 1 on the end of it, but all the files were in the first folder, so we can safely delete the second folder. And now we're just left with this one folder on the external hard drive that has all of the Google Drive files in it from all the different zip files, and they're all arranged just the way they were when they were on Google Drive. And you'll also want to eject these zip files here. It's weird, zip files need ejecting on a Chromebook, but they do, so you can just do that to tidy it up. And now you're done. So that's how you can manually merge two folders or multiple different folders from the multiple zip files on your Chromebook. So if you just have fairly simple, small amount of files like Timmy did, you can do that and it's quite easy. But if you have a lot of files in a lot of different folders, in a lot of different zip files, it's going to be quite hard to manually put all of your files back together. So if that's the case, you might want to consider trying to use a Mac or Windows computer just for this one thing. So maybe you have an old one that you could dig out, or maybe you have a friend or family member who would be willing to let you borrow theirs. And then you could just click the eject button, pull the external hard drive out, plug the external hard drive into their computer, and then use the other steps Timmy shows you in this video at other times. Timmy will put the time codes, and you can just skip to that for whatever computer that is, and you can quite easily merge all the folders together using that Mac or Windows computer. Then you can pull the hard drive out, plug it back into your Chromebook, and you'll have the one folder with all the files merged together without having to manually do it all. So that's not ideal, but if you have a lot of files and a lot of folders, that's probably going to be your best option. And last but not least, if you're using an Apple Mac computer, working with zip files on a Mac computer is actually a bit different. You'll need to come in and make sure you've clicked on your external hard drive in the side menu to see all the files in the external hard drive in the Finder app, like Timmy has here. We have this one zip file here. And to extract the zip file, all you actually need to do is double click on it, and it will pop up with this message saying it's expanding the zip file, and you'll just need to wait for that to finish and the progress bar to go all the way to the end. This can take quite a while if you have a really large zip file to extract all of the files out of it, so you'll just need to wait for that to finish. And now, once it finishes, you'll just have this folder here named Takeout. And if you double click on that folder to go inside it, there'll be this HTML file here that you can really just ignore because you don't need that. But there'll also be this Drive folder here. And if you double click on that, you'll see all of your files and folders that you had in Google Drive, all organized exactly the way they were when they're on Google Drive. And that's all there is to it, because you now have all of your Google Drive files here. You might want to remove a few steps to get into it, because at the moment to access these files, you have to click on the external hard drive, then double click on Takeout, then double click on Drive. So to make it a bit easier, you might want to come back to Takeout and click this Drive folder here and drag it and drop it just directly on the external hard drive you have. And now you'll just come into the external hard drive and you'll be able to go directly into the Drive folder. So that makes it a bit easier. You can do that if you want to. And then once you've done that, you would want to delete the Takeout folder because that's just an empty folder at this point. And once you've finished extracting all of your files out of the zip file, you can also safely delete the zip file by just dragging it into the trash can, because once the files are out of it, you don't actually need it. It's just basically a copy. And once you're done, you're done. So now you just have this OneDrive folder on your external hard drive with all of your Google Drive files, just the way they were when they're on Google Drive. So that's all there is to it if all of your files were able to fit into one zip file. But if you had too many files or too larger files to fit into the one 50 gigabyte zip file, and you had to download multiple zip files, it will be a bit more complicated because you'll have to extract all of the zip files and then you'll need to merge them all together so that they're all laid out the way they were when they're on Google Drive. So let's say your files were split into two separate zip files like this. The first thing you'll need to do is just extract all of the zip files, and that's pretty easy. So we'll just double click on the first one and we'll wait for that to finish extracting. And then once that's finished extracting, we'll double click on the second zip file and wait for that to finish extracting. And then once that's done, obviously, if you had a third and a fourth zip file, you would keep going and do that one and that one and that one until all of your zip files are extracted. And now, just to make things a bit neater, we will actually select all the zip files and delete them. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but it just makes things cleaner and out of the way. And now, you should see here, we have this folder named Takeout. And that's the folder that was in the first zip file. And then we also have this folder named Takeout2. And that's the folder that was in this second zip file. And if you had a third zip file and you extracted that, you'd have a Takeout3 and a Takeout4 and so on. So each zip file you extract will have its own folder here. So now all of your files are split into these separate folders here, and you have to combine them together. And luckily, on a MacBook, this is actually fairly easy because there's a way you can have the computer automatically combine all the files for you. The first thing you'll need to do is double click on the first folder. So double click on Takeout with no numbers and click and drag this drive folder and drop it onto your external hard drive. So we'll click on it and we'll click and drag and drop it there. And now this drive folder is here and this takeout folder is empty. So we'll delete that first takeout folder. And now with every additional takeout folder you have, you'll want to do basically the same thing, but with an extra step. So if we double click on Takeout2 to go into that folder, you'll have this drive folder here. And now with this drive folder, you'll want to hold down the Option key on your keyboard and then click and drag the folder and drop it back onto your external hard drive. And now this warning message will pop up saying that a folder named Drive already exists in this location. And that's true because the folder named Drive from the first zip file is already there. So now what we can do is click Merge here, and now it will merge the two folders together. So it might take a moment to do that. And when it's doing this, you're technically copying all of the files from the Takeout2 folder into the Takeout folder. So you'll still be left with this drive folder that you can then delete once it's finished, but that doesn't matter. Once it finishes this, all of those files will be merged together. So we'll just wait for that to finish. It says it will take less than a minute. And now that it's done, we still have this drive folder in the Takeout2 folder here, but we can ignore that now. If we go back to the external hard drive, now in this drive folder, if we go in here, all of the files from the first zip file and the second zip file will now be merged together in here. And they'll all be inside their correct folders with the correct structure and everything, just the way they were when they were on Google Drive. So we've now done that with the 2 zip files. And if you had 3 zip files, you just repeat the same process. You'd go into the next one, hold down Option and drag it across and click Merge. And then that would do the same thing with the next one. And then once you've done that, you can delete all of these takeout folders. And now you'll just have this Drive folder here with all of your Google Drive files in here laid out correctly, just like they were on Google Drive. And that's all there is to it. So now, no matter what computer you use or how many zip files it downloaded in, you'll now have all of your files merged together, sitting in this one Drive folder on your external hard drive. So now, if you wanted to, you could delete all of these files from Google Drive so that they would only exist on the external hard drive and you could just use them on the external hard drive. Or you could leave the files on Google Drive as well and just have the files on the hard drive as a backup. Just remember, the files will not stay synchronized with each other. So if you add or remove or edit a file on Google Drive, those changes will not show up on the external hard drive in all of these files here, and vice versa. So if you're keeping the files on your external hard drive as a backup, you'll probably want to delete this backup every so often and follow this video again to re-download all of the files from Google Drive again. That way the backup stays reasonably current and you have all of your newer files on the hard drive and maybe some of the older ones are now deleted. And now that you're finished, you'll also want to go back into your browser settings and change the download location back to your downloads folder. Because otherwise, whenever you try to download anything from any website in the future, it'll try to download it to this external hard drive. And if the external hard drive isn't plugged into your computer, that could create some issues. So we just want to make sure you go ahead and do that. But once you've done that, you're all done. You've successfully downloaded an entire backup of your Google Drive to your external hard drive. So hopefully you found this video helpful. Sorry it's so long, but Timmy wanted to make sure you had all of the necessary information. And Timmy will see you in the next one.